It's one of the biggest lockdowns China has imposed during the pandemic, one that looks a lot like what happened in Wuhan 2 years ago when COVID-19 first emerged. Since late December, 13 million people in the city of Xi'an have been ordered to stay home, as the Delta variant led to an outbreak of more than 2,000 cases, a high number for China.
They're not letting people in or out of the city, really taking just a very aggressive approach.
China has locked down a number of cities during the pandemic, and in early January reported its first case of the fast-spreading Omicron variant in the city of Tianjin. But this time, what's happening in Xi'an has sparked a nationwide outcry online about food shortages. Some stranded residents said on social media that they were down to their last pack of instant noodles. But the government says there are enough food supplies. And the lockdown in Xi'an could also threaten the global semiconductor shortage, especially since the city is home to some of the world's biggest memory chip makers.
顺利举办即成功。
The stakes are high as China is about to host the Winter Olympics, and the lockdown in Xi'an is turning out to be a big test for China's zero-COVID strategy. So how strict is the lockdown in Xi'an? When the rules first came into effect, one person per household was allowed to go out once every 2 days to buy food and other necessities. But restrictions were tightened after a few days, with tens of thousands sent to quarantine centers and everyone else banned from leaving their homes except to get a COVID test, similar to the rules in Wuhan back in 2020.
Certainly, a lot of people are making the comparison between Wuhan and Xi'an, and we've seen, as in Wuhan 2 years ago, we see stories coming out through social media primarily of families, households, people encountering pretty difficult circumstances.
The government promised free delivery of groceries to those stranded at home, but many complained online, saying they received little to no supplies. The hashtag Xi'an grocery shopping is difficult was viewed more than 400 million times on the Chinese social media platform Weibo as of January 7th. And some say the government hasn't provided enough food since the lockdown began. There were also complaints about run-ins with authorities enforcing the rules. This video, which has been widely shared since New Year's Eve, shows a man being beaten by guards, with comments saying that he had gone out to buy steamed buns. The owner of the video couldn't be reached, and it hasn't been independently verified. The police acknowledged the incident and said the two guards had been punished with a 7-day detention and a $30 fine. Hospitals have been also widely criticized on social media for not giving medical care to some patients with non-COVID conditions. For instance, a pregnant woman said she was denied medical attention because of an expired COVID test. Authorities later said they would loosen some requirements.
But then there are definitely people who, both within Xi'an and outside of Xi'an, are supportive of these measures. People who look at the Chinese government response and say that was the right thing to do.
The lockdown in Xi'an could also exacerbate the global shortage of semiconductors found in the electronics we use every day. Samsung and Micron are some of the world's largest chip makers, and both have factories in Xi'an. According to research firm TrendForce, Samsung has 2 production lines in the city that make flash memory products, used in devices such as hard drives and cameras. Samsung didn't give details but said it had to temporarily adjust operations. Micron said the city's closure had some impact on its output of chips, but it was working with officials to identify solutions.
If they need to make an adjustment to their Xi'an operations, that may mean that affects some of their other chip operations elsewhere. We'll have to see how big of a hit this will be.
Just weeks before China is set to host the Winter Olympics in Beijing, health authorities confirmed the first cases of Omicron in the neighboring city of Tianjin, and they ordered mass testing for its 14 million residents.
You have officials everywhere who are looking at Xi'an's example and who are going to be hoping that they are not subjected to the same sort of scrutiny.
2022年冬奥会已准备就绪。
The Winter Olympics is set to begin on February 4th, and China is allowing foreigners to enter in large numbers for the first time since the pandemic began, though under very strict rules to minimize contact with locals. With cold temperatures increasing transmissibility and countries around the world reporting hundreds of thousands of daily cases, keeping out COVID-19 is becoming more challenging.
China already is feeling a lot of pressure to really pull off these Olympics and make them succeed. There's obviously also a lot of geopolitical pressure on China right now. And so I think the best answer that they want to have is to say we pulled off a successful Olympics. And part of that includes containing COVID.